Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Screen Peeking, a weekly podcast where Ziggy and I get together to talk about video games and everything related to video games. Today we have a special guest, Pinging Vito, also known as Jesse, my brother, and another cousin of Ziggy's. So Jess, welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you for having me for this episode. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's super exciting to have a third impression on some of our topics today. But as always, we should start with our podcast, or not our podcast, our Game Club game from last week or 2 weeks ago now. Maybe I should address that first. Last week we missed an episode. Ziggy and I were not able to kind of get together. We weren't able to make the time to do an episode, but that shouldn't be a regular thing. That was definitely an anomaly, and we're back stronger than ever today. So now, without further ado, let's get into our Game Club game from the previous episode. It was Alan Wake. Ziggy and I both took some time to play that. And then after we give our impressions, I might ask you, Jesse, just kind of what you think of that game if you've played it and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
So, Zig, do you want to take it away? Give your impressions first?
Yeah, so I think we mentioned last episode that we both had started it a while ago and didn't really remember it. And turns out I do kind of remember it. It wasn't it's just none of it was that noteworthy, to be honest. like I don't know. I think the thing that caught me right off the bat was just how Xbox 360 it feels. It just kind of painfully so. So everything from the really small design things where you have to mash X to open a door or something. That's just kind of weird and awkward and unnecessary. By today's standards, it then was just kind of normal, the janky animations and stuff. So I don't know. It was kind of nostalgic in that sense, but overall, yeah, it didn't really do much for me. It just kind of, I don't know, came and went. It was I liked how campy it was, I guess. You could definitely tell they were going for an intentional, with the narration, it was ugh, I went to the town and then whatever, and like an old movie or something. I kind of liked that. But overall, yeah, I've played Control. I've played actually a lot of Remedy games. I don't think I've finished a single one. But
Yeah, me neither.
It definitely feels like this was before they really found. I mean, I guess it was for a lot of people when they started to make really cool stuff, but for me, Control was the first Remedy game that really felt special to me. The others just sort of felt like TV shows trying to be video games when they probably just should have been a TV show, to be honest. And I felt that way about Alan Wake. Really, definitely felt that way about Quantum Break, because that game kind of just is a TV show. And yeah, I mean, comparing it to what Control did in terms of storytelling and mechanics and stuff, Alan Wake just feels so stripped down and basic and kind of forgettable in some ways. But yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I got a very, very similar 360 vibe, as you said. Yeah, it's just funny how some games you can really feel the age in the controls and how they've controlled things. And even just the limited settings you have, you're like, oh, maybe I'll just tweak the sensitivity of this or that, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that's not a thing anymore. Back then, it's just weird. But the positives for me were, I do like when I'm ready for a story focused game like this one, I do like the narrative voiceover. You know, the guy just kind of explaining what's going on. It's really him in his head, kind of just telling the story, and I really liked that a lot. The combat was neat. I thought it was unique. I couldn't remember that at all, so I don't know how much I played way back in the day, but just the shining the flashlight with the left stick, or I think it was you're just using the right stick to look around, right? And then you pull the left trigger to, I think, intensify your light beam, and that can kind of stun the enemy or take the darkness off of them, and then you press the right trigger to shoot them, and it just takes a few shots and they die. That was neat at first, and then I kind of got tired of it.
Yeah, same.
I thought it the collectibles were kind of pointless. Yeah, you can collect little thermoses of coffee, cool, but I guess that's just a checklist. You know, you can do it, and that's all. I didn't notice if you unlock artwork or anything. Did you find anything like that? if like
No,
getting
I
enough
didn't.
collectibles
And
did something.
that's kind of another like Xbox 360 ism, is the weird like collectibles like that don't really like have any meaning. Um and yeah, like you were saying, the controls, like just when you start playing the game, like the way he walks and the ways the camera moves just
Hmm.
feels kind of old. And I mean, that isn't necessarily a knock against the game, because like it is an Xbox 360 game. It's just like a little bit, it just feels dated from today's lens, I guess. Like I've played a lot of games that do a really similar thing, just better at this point and more refined. Um, and yeah, and what you're saying with the flashlight mechanic, like same thing. I thought that was neat at first until I realized that it doesn't actually really add any depth to the combat. Like it just sort of forces you to ADS when you're shooting someone. Like it just sort of forces you to like focus on them, which is
Yeah.
interesting for like a survival horror type thing, because it just, I don't know, it's cool having that sort of focus, and flashlight mechanics are always neat, but yeah, it didn't really add a ton of depth, I thought. So yeah, I mean, overall I thought it was okay. Like definitely didn't hate it, but it just wasn't, after playing a few hours, it wasn't something that I was really itching to play more of.
Yeah, I wrote down a few rapid fire kind of notes for me. Just as I was playing, I was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna type out a couple of things, like my feelings in that moment, what I was thinking." Right. Um, I wrote like kind of what I just said. I really like the story focused games that have narration over what you're doing, or where you should go, and that kind of stuff. I was like, this is not aged well in the visuals department. Limited animations make me really appreciate how far we've come with motion capture, and just how high end the skill is in general for animators these days.
Yeah.
For some reason I wrote standing in light heals me, because I guess that's what happens. I already forgot about that. that was a thing. It didn't really matter. It didn't add to anything in my opinion. All in caps. The camera is a pain in my ass. It starts off with Alan on the right side of the screen, and then I learned that you can press the right stick to flip the camera so he's on the left. But then the camera will just go back randomly sometimes. Gets caught on objects too. Not fun. So I do remember that. That was a pain in the butt.
I forgot about that, like the weird like super cinematic over the shoulder camera that they have, where Alan like is just like in the far like bottom right corner, pretty much, like way further than you'd expect. Where the camera just sort of feels like awkward and off center, as opposed to like cinematic, I guess. I mean, compared to some like I said, games that have done it better as of recently, like God of War comes to mind, where it is a really cinematic camera, but it just feels better than a weird like off-centered sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and like just in so many, I think I'm just used to in most games, if you're doing something third person, your character's on the left and your cursor is slightly to the right in the middle of your screen, or something like that. And so for me to have it flip back and forth, even when I specifically press the button so it flipped, and then it would you'd go into a cutscene and then come back out of it, or into a little scene where like it forces you to do something, and then it goes back to gameplay, and you're stuck going back to the opposite side of the screen. It was just very jarring. I also wrote down that that like clearly Remedy had a vision for this game, and like I can totally see why it is held in such high regards. The tone is unsettling, ominous, while the mystery of what's going on keeps you wanting to play a bit more. I think it was mostly the age of the game, and like that I've experienced so many things that are in so many games that are better, that I didn't want to spend the time to complete it, right?
And honestly, yeah, like other Remedy games, really, like not at all to take away from the talent of the studio, like they're super talented, but yeah, like their vision for this game, it has just kind of been fulfilled better with later projects. Like Control is the number one to come to mind, where like that sense of unease and mystery just comes through so much better in Control than something like this. And some of that's the age, and some of that I think is also just design and like the performances of the characters and stuff like that. But yeah, like what you're saying, I feel like you could say that about most Control game or Remedy games, really, where you can tell they have a really cool and unique vision, but they don't always necessarily hit that mark super well. Like God, Quantum Break, a million years is that, where like,
I never played that one.
They were doing something. It's the one that was like half TV show, half game, where you'd be playing for a while, and kind of right as you're getting into the game, it would force you to watch like an episode of a TV show, pretty much.
I remember reading about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of like not super well produced and weird, and like I don't know. I didn't love it, but it was cool and unique and not really something I'd seen before. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of the the Remedy thing, but it's nice to see someone sort of doing something different in the industry, and this definitely is not an exception.
Well, the last thing I'll say about it, because I think this is just a funny note that I had on here, was that, and I wish I had a picture that I could throw up on the screen for the video listeners, but I basically wrote down the old man in the boat at the beginning of the game looks much more realistic than Alan or his wife. I said, actually, his wife is scarier looking than the shadow guy from the beginning.
Yeah,
and she just like looks so dead in the face and so creepy, and I just thought that was a funny thing I gotta comment on. It was just weird because everything looked like an older game, and then this old guy in the boat, somehow I think it was the textures were way more detailed and more realistic looking on his face than Alan or his wife, which are like main characters. I thought that was so weird. But yeah, that's my impressions on the game. I don't think I'll ever finish it.
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you think? Have you played this game? Do you have an
I have
opinion on
not played this game. I looked at a brief review and I looked on Steam, some screenshots, some gameplay. And from that, man, oh man, right away I was like, dude, is this game produced by Capcom? Like, is this like a spin-off of Resident Evil? Like back in the day, I looked at the year and it came out in 2010. And Resident Evil 5 came out in 2009 and Resident Evil 6 came out in 2011. So in between those
Okay.
5 and 6 of Resident Evils, this game came out, and it totally shows because I was looking at it, I was like, for instance, actually, I play a lot of those old Resident Evil games, so the old junky Xbox style mashing X and all that stuff. I'm a sucker for that stuff, and it's old school, and I don't know why I enjoy it, but man, when I play games like it, just I love it, and that's part of the reason why I like those old Resident Evil games because they are janky. They got those weird things. The camera angle gets caught in the doorway, and I just love it. So I saw this game. I was like, this is straight up like that, and I was blown away that it was nothing to do with Capcom or Resident Evil at all. It's just someone else trying to do the same thing. By the time Resident Evil has made the 5th game, and they're going to make the 6th, and this guy got their game in right in between. And from playing the 5th game of Resident Evil to the 6th one, the mechanics and like how your character moves and stuff, Alan Wake totally has like some of those features that 6 has, but not quite there yet. It's a little in between. I was like, man, it's almost like they're working on like the same idea with the third person and how to make you feel a little more mobile, but it didn't really work yet, and it was like messing up with the camera compared to 6. When Resident Evil 6 came out, it was like really mobile. You're like dive rolling, sliding, moving all this stuff around. So to me, like right away, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And because of that, I would see myself playing it sometime and probably having a good laugh out of it. I don't know if I'd beat it. And I might just not play it just on the fact that it's not Resident Evil and it's its own little story.
Yeah.
And maybe I just never find a copy for my 360 or something. I don't know. But
yeah, I was going to
thought
ask.
the flashlight spotting clues and stuff, that was really cool. That made me think of Resident Evil again in Revelations. They do the same thing with the flashlight, and you aim it at characters, blinds them, then you can shoot them, or you find hidden clues on the walls. Straight up the same thing. The environments and stuff being like very, like even if the graphics aren't good or some of the textures might be like muddy, they like try so hard and like getting the fog in there and like really like trying to do these things that really stand out to place you in that atmosphere of like in the woods, or now you're leading up to this area and there's a river next by, so you have this like feeling of what's totally around you, even though you don't necessarily have to travel to those areas. It's just what's around you. That stuff Resident Evil does, and I appreciate that kind of thing in those old games when it's just been so limited on what they can do in those old games. I love it when they do like very movie cinematic build up in that. But yeah, so there was those things, but I never played it. Don't know if I will. I am interested though.
Yeah, it's a good point. I obviously, you being my brother, I know you pretty well, and I'm surprised this actually didn't come up in my head as, oh, Jesse would love this, because I know you're a huge fan of those old retro Resident Evil games, or call them retro. I don't know about that, but yeah, like you're really into those games, and I'm surprised I never thought of that. Well, Ziggy, do you have anything else to say about Alan Wake before we continue?
I don't think so. No, yeah, that's about it. Other than, yeah, I mean, Jesse, if you like that sort of style of older Resident Evil with, like you were saying, like the button mashing and stuff like that, I do think this would probably be pretty up your alley. Like it definitely gave me those vibes of like a Resident Evil 4 or something, like more that era of Resident Evil.
Yep. All right, well, Ziggy, what have you been playing this week? Now that we're done with our game club game, what else have you been up to?
What have I been playing? I've been playing lots. In the last couple of weeks, I've been playing like a more variety of games than I usually do. I went back and started replaying Persona 5, just because I was in the mood, and I played like a good 20 hours of that since the last episode. I got like just really sucked back into that. Kind of almost like I kind of felt guilty doing it because there's other games I should be playing, like Yakuza 7's out, and I've I've been playing that, which we'll talk about it later, and enjoying it, and like other stuff I've been playing. But yeah, that kind of really sucked me in. And then also I've been playing Tetris Effect Connected, which just came out 3 days ago, I suppose, with the launch of the Series X. And I don't have a Series X yet, but I do have a PC, so I downloaded it on there and played it. Gosh, something in my throat. Sorry. But so yeah, I played Tetris Effect like a while ago, a couple years ago or something when it came out. And like I definitely am a Tetris guy. I have like a pair of Tetris Pumas.
I didn't know that.
It's like I don't know if I've talked about that on the podcast before, but I definitely do really like Tetris. And Tetris Effect just like blew me away. Like it's a gorgeous game. Consistently every time I play that, like the first level in that game, like if it's been a while and I go back and play it, I tear up like every time. It's just gorgeous. And so jumping into this, like I've played through the journey mode probably 3 or 4 times now. So I just kind of skipped past that and went to the new multiplayer stuff because that's like what really had me hooked. And I played the co-op like connected mode, and it was so cool. Like I don't really know what I was expecting. Like when they said there's multiplayer, I just assumed it would be standard like versus multiplayer, which I like, but in like Tetris Effect definitely isn't like the tightest Tetris game I've played. It's really pretty, but I think it's more like experience focused than like really tight, hard, perfect Tetris gameplay.
Okay.
And so with the versus mode, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's cool. I'd rather just play Tetris 99 or something. But the co-op mode was interesting because I haven't really played something like that. And basically it's this like 3 versus 1 sort of boss rush mode almost. So it's like 3 people and you all have your own matrix and you're working to defeat like this one person. So like when you clear lines, you build up like a sort of meter. And then when that meter goes off, like sort of the chorus in the song kicks in, and then all your matrices, I guess, like merge together into this one like big board. So it's like super wide, and then you all take turns placing stuff together, and this really cool co-op thing of like working together of you're each like sort of strategizing to like build up things in this little limited amount of time to really like clear as many lines as possible. And then once like the timer on that runs out, they all get sent to the boss and then damage on them. And then as you're playing normally, like it'll send sort of like debuffs your way. So there's ones that make it so like you can't use the hold function, or ones that make it go like super fast or give you lines or like certain bomb pieces and stuff. And it's super cool. Like I don't really know what I was expecting from it, but it definitely wasn't this, and I definitely wasn't expecting it like to love it this much. But yeah, I mean, it was. I really like those sort of like non-verbal but like really powerful co-op experiences, like Journey or like the end of Nier actually came to mind from when I was thinking about like other experiences like this. Of like I never talked to these other people playing. Like as far as I know, there isn't even any sort of like emote function, but you still like felt the sense of connection when you're playing with other people, where because you are like strategizing together and like putting the blocks down together, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's really, really cool. If you like Tetris Effect, it's worth checking out the new modes in this. And then the other game I played was a typing game that is free on the Epic Games Store right now.
We don't need to hear about that one. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, a typing game. I saw it like I just clicked on it because I like getting free games. And it I think described itself as like a typing horror game or something. And hearing that combo, it was just like, it sounded fucking insane. I need to
Making a
play
mistake has never been scarier.
And it is really fun. Like I wouldn't really call it horror. It's more of like an action game, but it has like ghosts and spooky elements. But it's God, like typing based combat you wouldn't think would be fun, but it's really good. Basically, you like have your guy, and there's this fun little story with it too that weirdly kind of reminds me of Hotline Miami. But you like move your guy around and you like press shift and then WASD to move, and then when you let go of shift, then you can type out like an attack. So it's like a bullet hell, so the enemy's like shooting stuff at you, so you're like dodging that. And then when you think you have a second, you're like, whoo, and then start typing out like the like spell. There's like this really long spell that you have to say essentially.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah, or like he will cometh and do da 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 da, and then you're typing that and you make a mistake and it like sort of sends your thing back to like, ooh, like really frantically trying to type it and be accurate and fast, and it's like really stressful and chaotic, but it's really really weirdly fun. Like I just kind of played it because I thought it looked funny. And the writing is actually pretty funny in it, but like I did not expect to like that combat that much. It was really, really good.
That's cool. What's it one called again?
The Texture Assist.
The Texture. Right. Oh, okay, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Do you have to like use any spells in Latin typing?
No, luckily that'd be hard. Yeah, no. The one weird thing about the combat though is like, because you're using WASD to move, is you have to like, like when your hand sits on WASD, it's different than when your hand sits when you're typing. So you have to like, but it's just like one key away. So I'd find I often start typing, but my hand would be shifted one letter too far. So I'd just like immediately make a million mistakes. So that was the only like weird sort of hitch in it. But yeah, weirdly fun. If you like typing, I would recommend this game.
I'm probably going to check that one out, actually. You made it sound fun. Jesse, what have you been playing this week?
A lot of Switch games, man.
Oh yeah?
It's just been a lot of Mario Kart with the family and Animal Crossing on the side, of course. Basically play that game like every morning. It's just like the drinking coffee, run around my island, collect some shells. Just the usual everyday thing. And then, yeah, I think that was it. A little Minecraft, but all on the Switch, yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Oh, and Apex, of course.
Oh yeah,
We'll
that's
get
right.
to that a little later, but definitely Apex, yeah.
Some sweaty practicing.
Yeah, I got pretty sweaty.
Yeah, and for me, I've just been playing a bunch of Dark Souls 3, kind of playing as much as I can anytime I can. It's been a busy week, and just trying to collect a bunch of episodes for people who are listening and watching. You can watch those videos or those episodes on my Nicola YouTube channel. And I'm just doing an episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I've just been collecting a ton of content for that because it's been a fun playthrough with randomized items and all kinds of stuff that can go wrong in that playthrough. It makes it more challenging, makes it difficult. It's not just your standard, gonna play through the game and beat all the bosses again. Yeah, so that's been what I've been doing, and it's been a lot of fun. Just trying to get all that content ready so that I can focus fully on Demon Souls next week when I get my PS5.
Nice. You're going through all the DLC, correct? In Dark Souls 3?
Not in this run. I was going to originally.
Okay, I was going to say that second DLC would just destroy you.
Well, at this point, really, any of them do. Like, I've gotten, I think it was episode 3 or 4, I got real stuck where I'd collected every single piece of armor and every weapon, or both the weapon and the shield I had, all could not be used. The armor was also heavy, I couldn't dodge, so all I could do was walk.
Oh my gosh.
My weapon couldn't kill anything. My shield could not block more than one attack without me being staggered, and then I'd get killed. So really, just your average dog or anybody who can walk faster than my walking speed could chase me down and kill me, and I would be like, I can't do anything. I can't dodge, I can't run, I can't attack. And so I went on a big, like, 2.5 hour spree of just looking for items, just trying to find items that I could like use to hopefully get lighter gear, and eventually it worked out, but I had to cut a lot of content out of that. I didn't want to make people watch 6 episodes of me just sitting there with monotone. I hope this is an item. Oh, this is more heavy stuff. Great. So yeah, that was a tough time, but I've gotten back to I think I've leveled up enough to where most of my gear is under the threshold where I can at least do a heavy, like a slow roll if I'm trying to dodge, or I can use most of the weapons I pick up now. So it's getting better, but I don't want to do all the DLC. I think I'm just focusing right now on just getting the last. I think there's 4 main bosses you have to defeat before you can fight the last one, and so I'm just aiming to get the 4th one right now. I've gotten 3 out of 4, and then we'll just finish them up and get the final boss. And yeah, I'm hoping to get
And
that done
Demon
sooner
Souls.
than later. Yeah, well, Demon
That's
Souls
so
will be
funny.
next week, 100%. As soon as I get the PS5, I'm jumping into Demon Souls and I'm streaming that live.
No. You gotta finish the other one first.
Hey, well, that's why I collected all these episodes. There's episodes scheduled all the way to the end of this month. I got some time.
Okay.
Anyways, that's what I've been doing this week. So, it's finally time. I'm excited to hear Ziggy's impressions of Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
I have
I've been
not
so
played
hyped for
this, and I've been staying away from watching anything. So, Ziggy, please don't spoil story, but go ahead and spoil anything else you want, for me at least.
Okay.
Jesse, do you have any preferences on spoilers?
I stayed away from it. I'm not going to play it, but I'm interested to hear anything about it. So,
Okay.
Okay.
it looks
So,
cool.
yeah.
It's just not my kind of game.
Jesse, have you played any of the other Yakuza games by chance, or no?
No, I looked at when this one got announced. I was like, oh, I should look into like what these games are even about. And I saw
Mhm.
like kind of the same with Alan Wake. Watched some gameplay video and read into one, and I was like, yeah, it's probably not for me.
Mhm.
But Nick was really excited about it. And I heard that you're really excited about it, so I'm really
Mhm.
excited to hear about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Ziggy, it's time
Yeah,
to sell him
so
on it.
awesome. So yeah, I've played Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 1. So I'm definitely a newer Yakuza fan, but I feel like I'm qualified to talk about like what makes the series good. And I think this game, despite it being really, really different, still hits most of those marks as far as what makes like a very good Yakuza game. Like the story, without spoiling anything, I really love so far. Like Ichiban, the new character, I think he's so much fun. He's so just like different from any other character we've had in the series, and I think it's absolutely for the better. Like he, as someone who just like Kiryu, was very like stoic and gruff, and him as someone who just is like kind of immature and dumb and rash. I think it's just fun to have like that difference in someone that's so just unique to the series, and everything about it, like it just feels so refreshing. Like Yakuza has kind of been doing the same thing for so long, and to have it really break out into something new just makes me happy. And more importantly, to have it break out into something new and stick the landing. Because I think with the new character, with the new city, it really, really sticks. I think obviously the biggest change, the fact that it's a turn-based RPG now, it's kind of like it's really, really similar to Persona. It is, kind of just like Persona with a Yakuza skin in a way almost now, as far as like the format of its gameplay and stuff like that. And I think they implemented it the best that they possibly could, but I also think that still just comes with some downfalls. Like the way that they integrate it like into the story itself, like there's a cutscene in the first like half hour of the game, where someone's talking to Ichiban and he's like, well, why do you like, you could beat these people up, like why do you let them hit you? He's like, oh, like it's like Dragon Quest, like I gotta, like I have to like take my turn, and like I always fight like it's a game. And I think it's just interesting and weird the way that they like contextualize the fact that these characters just like sort of let themselves get beat up for the sake of like it playing like a turn-based RPG. And I think that's all super fun.
That's fun.
I like how character-based it is, because similar to Persona, which has like the confidant system, it's sort of similar where you have like your party that you build up, and it's very focused on like building up those characters and the relationships with them, and really just sort of like hanging out with them, which I think is really fun.
Okay, so you can build relationships in the game?
Yeah, I haven't gotten this far, I think, but I know I've heard people talk about, I think there is literally like confidant quests like there is
cool.
in Persona, where you do like go to someone, you build up like your relationship with them and that sort of thing. And I love that. The characters are all really likable. It's obviously really different from Persona character-wise, because instead of a bunch of like rebellious teenagers, it's like middle-aged men that
Yeah.
are all like ex-cons in some way. So like tonally it's super different, but it hits a lot, like the things that get me really, really sucked into Persona, it's hitting those same notes here, which is definitely a good thing. I can feel the addiction slipping in, and that's absolutely a good thing. But the combat, I think, does take away from some things that makes Yakuza enjoyable to me. Like the most obvious one is like what makes it so satisfying for me a lot of the time is like in its cutscenes it'll build up a villain like you just hate him, right? Like they're like talking trash at you, they're like calling you worthless and all this shit, and then like the music kicks and like bam bam bam, like all this guitar and stuff, and then it has like the title go up of like shows their name and like and they'll say something, and then you just like beat the shit out of them, like just pounding their head into the concrete, and it's so much fun. And I think when it's turn-based, it takes a little bit of that satisfaction away, which is kind of disappointing, because instead of feeling like you are Kiryu, right? Like you are the one like punishing them for whatever they've done, it feels a little more disconnected, and because of that, I think it's a little bit less satisfying. And the other big gripe I have with it is the like random encounters in the street. I am not a fan of at all. Like in regular Yakuza or in older Yakuza games, when you're walking around, like there'll be just like thugs or something that's you. They're like, "Whoa!" and then they'll like take off their shirts and punch each other, whatever. And then those are usually just short and easy fights. But in here, they're like those random encounters are like significantly harder sometimes than the fights you'll see in like actual story missions. Like they're really weirdly difficult. Yeah, like I die to those random people all the time, which is bizarre because I've never died in a story mission before. So like when I'm going and I'm just trying to get from like go to the store and buy some like food or whatever, and then randomly like 7 guys jump me and I get beat down. It's really frustrating. And maybe I'm just like going to areas that I shouldn't be at. Like there's higher level enemies than I should be facing at my current level. So that could like subside a bit once I level up. But right now that's kind of frustrating, and I wish like random encounters didn't take like 5 minutes to complete, 'cause that's just frustrating. 5 minutes and then dying, and when you die you don't go to your last save. You go back and all your characters at really low health and you lose some money. So when you get like actively punished for dying and you're dying just like from walking around, it gets a little frustrating. And for the story stuff, like without spoiling anything, it's kind of like what you would expect from a Yakuza game. Like definitely for the better. It doesn't like I said, because all the characters are so different, it feels different tonally, but it still hits like those beats that make Yakuza games fun, of like the mystery and all the like conspiracy and stuff like that. It starts out where Ichiban gets betrayed by like his former patriarch, and there's the mystery of like, why did he do that? Like, this guy was so cool, why is he bad now? And the thing of just trying to figure things out is still fun, still satisfying, still great. Yeah, I'll probably talk about it more later, like once I finish it. I think I'm probably 15-20 hours into it now, and it's a long game. It's a really long game. So yeah, I'm a decent way in, but there's definitely still a lot to go, and probably a lot of like gameplay mechanics I haven't seen yet. So I'll likely talk about it later again.
I have a couple of questions for you on the game.
Okay.
One was, how quick do you get into a fight, like from just walking and getting into that random encounter on the street? Is it quick? Because like I remember how fast it is in the other games, but I know it's turn based, and I'm wondering how long it takes for all that setup to happen before you can finally take on the first hit. Because yeah, I didn't mind the random battles in the other games because of how fast it started and ended.
Yeah, it's probably about the same speed as the other ones, where it switches cameras, and then like they'll make their manly grunts at each other, and then you just go right into it. And it's not like like the original Final Fantasy VII, where it has like the battle music and the like slow pan and camera, and then like a bit of animation. Then you can do it. It is pretty quick. Luckily, the thing that's frustrating for me with the speed is mostly just how long the actual battles take, because. And again, I think that's just because I'm still kind of early and under-leveled right now.
Right.
I hope that'll subside later. I hope that those enemies don't scale with me. But yeah, that's a little slow for my taste at the moment.
Okay. The other thing I was wondering was, because the last one I played was Kiwami 2, and they had a ton of mini games, like tons of little things you can do on the side. And I know some people like that, but for me, or at least how it was tied to, like, there was all these little challenges that you could earn experience points by doing all these different activities. And for me, some of those I just didn't want to do, like running your own, I can't remember what it was, like some kind of club, like, you can run it, and you basically just sit there and assign like girls to certain booths and stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and do this. This is not fighting. This is not what I want to do right now. So like, I don't know that, and then or like playing blackjack or something. Is there a lot of mini games in this new one, or?
Yeah, so there definitely is, and I've usually enjoyed those mini games, but the good news is that they're usually pretty optional. Like it's usually side content. There's generally like one big quest line with a mini game, like what you're saying. Usually it's the cabaret club stuff where you're like building up your club and then like recruiting people and like fighting off whatever other big business owners are near you, and they'll like try to intimidate you, and you can fight them or like just buy them out and stuff. And that's always kind of been fun to me, like that management stuff. And then there's a lot of other, like they have the classics, they have karaoke, they have darts or
okay,
whatever.
I liked the karaoke one. That was fun.
Yeah. No, karaoke is definitely like the most, like probably the most popular, like the classic.
Do they still
have?
Sorry, do they still
have
have
this one
your character doing the song in the background?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, they still go all out with it. And oh man, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the one I really like is there's like this sort of like private retro movie theater for like a side quest where the guy is like, oh, it just says something and asks if he wants to see a movie, and then you go in, and then basically the chairs are all just way too comfortable, and you have to like try to stay awake and get through the movie. And so it's this weird thing where there's like sheep that are like trying to make you go to sleep or something, and you have to like defend yourself from them, and it's just like weird and bizarre and fun. I liked that. There's one where you like, because you spend a fair bit of the intro like in a homeless camp, and there's like a mini game of you like just driving around collecting cans that I thought was fun. There's a lot of driving mini games actually, and they all actually feel pretty good, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, the mini games are fun. There's definitely lots of them. But yeah, they're mostly optional, so you can just sort of golden path it and go right to the story missions if you want, or you can spend some time and explore the city. I really like, and this has been in there before, but I haven't played any of the Yakuza games in the newest engine, where if you click in the left stick, you can go into first person mode. And I love that. Like walking around Tokyo, like especially at night, where like, you know, there's like the neon signs and everything, and it's like glowing and like reflecting in the puddles, and it's just gorgeous. Like walking down the street like that, you can like look into these little alleys or like in little shops, and it's just so like immersive and fun.
Does it have ray tracing?
Like, it doesn't. That's actually something I should say. I don't know if it does in the newest ones or not, but it looks, the lighting looks really nice regardless. But I'm playing this on, I should have mentioned this earlier, I'm playing this on my like launch Xbox One because I want to play it on my Series X whenever I get it. And let me tell you, this game does not run well on that thing. Like when I'm just walking around, it's like I don't have like specific measurements, but to me it looks like probably 20 to 25 frames per second most of the time. And in combat, it gets a bit better. In some cutscenes, it's okay. In other cutscenes, it's like, yeah, again, like 20 frames per second. It is really rough. And it seems like the way this game was designed, like with loading screens and stuff, it was designed for like the newer SSDs, because literally every 2 seconds it drops me into a long loading screen. Like it doesn't even try to hide them. Which is really frustrating when I go like from one cutscene and then I'm just kind of getting into it, and then I have to wait like 30 seconds and then get another part of that cutscene and then wait another 30 seconds and then get another part of that cutscene, and it just feels so like like disjointed. Kind of breaks up like the pacing of those story segments. But I'm sure like if I was playing this on like a Series X or a PS5, that would flow way better. I think it just very much is not made for the platform that I'm playing it on right now. And I kind of regret buying it on there a little bit. I wish I bought it on my computer or something, but I wanted to have that comparison of how it runs on like current gen versus next gen whenever I get my Xbox, hopefully soon. I still haven't gotten a pre-order yet.
Yeah, well, it's valuable information. Good to know about like how well it runs on your current system for people who are planning on just buying it for their Xbox One, right?
And it's definitely playable, like because it's turn-based. Having a lower frame rate doesn't make it like super horrible. It just doesn't look great and doesn't like it controls simple enough that I don't think it ever got in the way of the actual gameplay, so it hasn't bugged me a ton. wish it looked better, you know? Like, I'm definitely really, really excited to play it on a new system where it looks great and runs at 60 FPS and has all those loading times and stuff. Like, playing this game has just made me anticipate getting my Xbox more and more.
Nice. I have 2 more questions. They're real fast. You can just say yes or no to these ones.
Okay.
One is there unlockable abilities that you can like unlock with skill points?
I don't know. I've just kind of started, like, my characters just sort of have been like getting abilities when they level up.
Okay.
And I think it's more similar to like Persona, where like when your Persona levels up, they just gain a new ability.
Okay, gotcha.
Or when like a party member levels up. And I know there's like a job system that I haven't really messed with much. And I think if you assign someone a different job, they like their moveset changes, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Gotcha. And then my second question is, are the heat actions still there?
Sort of. There's like contextual actions. They're not heat actions though. So like the combat is really, really position based. Where the physical position of where the enemies are, because they sort of like walk around naturally, and so like if you're trying to attack someone but there's like someone standing in front of him, that guy is standing in front of him will like actually block you and hit you if you try to attack the guy behind him. Or like area based attacks, you have to line up with enemies. So if someone does like Ichiban has ability where he like swings his bat around in like a big arc, and you have to make sure there's actually enemies that are in that radius, so you don't just hit one guy. Or like a flame throwing ability is the same thing. And that's definitely interesting. And with that position comes sort of heat action. So if there's like a bike in the way, because before you could like pick up a bike and then hit enemies with it.
Yeah.
So it's a similar thing. So if you're like standing next to a bike and you attack someone, you'll pick up the bike and hit them, or you'll like kick a traffic cone in their face or something. And it does, so it's sort of a similar idea, not quite the same, but it has that similar idea of like when you're in a certain spot and you do something, it'll have like a different result.
Yeah, I just liked how many goofy ones there were in the other games that I've played. Like just there's so many funny situations.
As far as like goofy abilities go, that's where like the tag team moves go.
Okay.
Where so I know there's summons too, which I haven't seen yet, but where it goes into this like whole other screen and then they do some like weird. So the one I've unlocked for Ichiban is where he like he does this like cross arm attack, and then another guy like hits him up with the umbrella, another guy or like belches flame on him, and then he does like this huge like jumping kick and just like pulverizes this man, and stuff like that is where those fun like super over the top heat actions kind of get like replaced as far as just like really goofy shit in the middle of combat. I think there's summons. I remember seeing one in a trailer that was just like a giant lobster, which I'm excited to unlock. But yeah, it's a similar idea. It has a worthy replacement of heat actions, I would say.
Okay. Jess, are you sold now?
I'm so sold on watching this game.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk about next gen a bit, because the new systems are out now, and none of us have one.
Yeah.
So
I don't know anyone who has one either. I haven't heard of anyone anywhere in any connections of my life that has one yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know either. So I just kind of wanted to ask, Ziggy, you and I have been talking a lot about next gen, but I just real quick want to touch on you. Like, what are your plans? You said you want to get you plan on getting this Xbox Series X, right? He nodded for those who are listening.
I thought you were talking to Jesse.
Oh yeah, no, I was just confirming with you, like before I go to Jesse. You're planning on getting the next gen console. You're planning on getting the Xbox, right? What about the PS5? Are you planning on getting a PS5 at all?
Maybe down the line. I likely will get like a PS5 digital or something like a couple years down the line. But for now, I don't really feel a huge need to get both. Like the PS5 exclusives that they've shown haven't been really, really screaming my name, so I'm okay waiting.
But you're like a huge Souls fan.
It's my favorite series.
What about a new graphics card? Are you gonna get one of the new AMD cards or Nvidia ones just after you got yours?
probably like that's probably a few years down the line. Like
Yeah.
my current graphics card has served me just fine,
Mm-hmm.
and I personally prefer playing games on my TV. Most games, at least, like really competitive games, I definitely prefer playing on my PC. But
Yeah.
like Persona 4 Golden is a game that I started on my computer and just never finished because I just don't like playing that game at my desk. Like
Yeah.
if I want to play something like that, I want to be on my couch. I want to be on the TV. And so yeah, like upgrading my computer is a little bit less important to me, I guess, than getting a newer console. Like PS5 will honestly probably come before that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Jesse,
Mhm.
what are your plans for next gen? We haven't talked to you at all about this. Are you getting a new console? New system? New
No,
upgrade?
I would say I'm not getting the new Xbox. I am hoping to get a new PlayStation 5 when it's not new anymore,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in a year or two. And that's only if the PlayStation exclusive games that I'm hoping for that they won't come to PC, right? Like if they don't come to
Right.
PC eventually, then I will opt into getting a PlayStation 5 eventually, but I'm definitely able to wait on those games. Those games will still be exciting to play when I can play them, like Ghost of Tsushima
Mm-hmm.
for PS4 is obviously going to PS5. I can't wait to play that game. I really want to play that game, but I also am not going to buy a console just for that game. So I'll wait. Demon Souls looks so cool, but I'd rather just come over and play it at your place, Nick.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do that. Yeah.
But yeah,
What?
so I'm sticking with my PC. That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
For the generations to come, I'm just gonna stick with the PC, upgrade it as I see fit. Um, there's a lot of new GPUs coming out. There's a lot of options, and they're all so exciting. Like everything. I am not one to like read into articles on like the
I
specs
know.
and GPUs, but this year, man, it's just fun. It's just fun to read into because there's just so much cool stuff in them, and I'm like, I can't wait. Like, I'm glad I don't have a new GPU and I'm like ready to upgrade and I just need to get my hands on one.
Yep.
So,
What a nerd.
right?
No, I love that. What's your number one that you're thinking of getting right now? If you had to get one right this
Well,
second.
so the thing is though, the one that I want is still technically just rumored, as in the 3080 Ti.
Right.
For NVIDIA. They have it rumored that that's coming soon, as in like January, and it's rumored to have 20 gigabytes of VRAM. That's the big difference. So just in quick short, there's the 3080 that's already announced and it's out and sold out. This one, the Ti, has like pretty much every little spec on this GPU has like a few numbers up from the 3080. The only thing that's actually like a big oomph of difference is really the VRAM, which uh, I'm really happy about, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a few $100 more than what the 3080 is now. And I'd just be paying basically for more VRAM for my card, and that's what I want to put into, and that's what would make the 3080 just the perfect GPU. So I'm really hoping that is all true rumors and it
Yep.
will come true and it is coming January. That would be all perfect and I'd be thrilled. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for and looking out for.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now here's a little surprise one for you guys. If the Switch Pro or the next Switch or whatever it ends up being comes out in March, would you guys be interested in getting that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It depends for me. If it depends on if it's just like what the PS4 Pro was to the PS4, then probably not, because for me, like, that's just not really like, I use my Switch honestly mostly for the Jackbox party packs and like it's just party games mostly.
Yep.
Like I don't use it just to like sit down and play a game much. So if it's just like graphical improvements, I probably won't bother like spending money to upgrade it. But if it is the sort of thing where like, oh, Breath of the Wild 2 you can only play on your Switch Pro, and it is kind of like the next Switch, then and I don't think that would come out next year. I think that'd probably be a few years down the line. And if it is something like that, yeah, I probably would upgrade because I want to play whatever. I want to play any of the new games
Yeah.
Nintendo has to offer. You know, I don't want to get left in the dust for that. But yeah, if it's just like small upgrades, probably not. Like my current Switch does me just fine. I don't think I use it enough to really warrant that.
Yeah, I think for me it would have to be a significant jump in performance for the next Zelda. If they were like, hey, this plays on this regular Switch, that's fine, but look at how great it looks or plays on the new Switch, I'd be like, okay, I'm getting it. I don't even care. I'm buying that right away, day one. But yeah, if it was, I don't know, in this area where the frames kind of drop a little bit, that's gonna be smoothed out. Like, okay, cool. I don't need to spend $400-$500 or whatever it ends up being for that. But yeah, I just thought of that now. Was, oh yeah, I guess there's that rumor still that they're having that come out. It's got to. I care more.
I'm sure it's happening eventually. Yeah.
I care more for the next Zelda than the next Switch, though. So,
fair enough.
Yesterday, the Cyberpunk Twitter announced that the next Night City Wire episode 5 was going to be or it was announced for November 19th, next Thursday. It's going to be the video is going to come out at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And I'm definitely going to be doing a reaction video to it. I just quoted their tweet here just so I could get the actual correct facts of what this video is going to be focused on. They say, "Yo, Chumbas, get ready for episode 5 of Night City Wire. We'll talk about our favorite rocker boy Johnny Silverhand, share a variety of Night City's tunes, and a lot more. It's going to be a big one." So I'm hoping there's a lot more and that it will be a big one after reading that, because personally, talking about rocker boy Johnny Silverhand is not exciting to me. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's so cool, it's Keanu Reeves and all that stuff, but for me, I want to know more about the actual game. I don't care about the celebrity part of it. What about you guys? Are you guys excited for this thing, to see more information on this game, or are you just ready to play it when it's out?
I like the idea where it says share a variety of Night City's tunes. I'm interested to see like what bands they have working on the soundtrack and stuff like that. Like they've talked about that a little bit before.
Yep,
like I think they said like Grimes is working on it and like Run the Jewels and stuff. And I like seeing that. But yeah, I'd like to see, because I mean music in games is usually pretty important to me. So yeah, I'd see more of what they're doing as far as soundtrack goes and like bands, and I think that'd be interesting for me.
Yeah, I'm not interested in Johnny Silverhand other than, hey, that's Keanu Reeves. I can't wait to find him in the game and be like, hey man. But
Can
other
I kill
than
him?
that, yeah, right. Probably not. But yeah, the music. They got some really good music already that like they showed with the Grimes performance and stuff. And I really liked that, and that got me like getting really excited for the game before it got delayed twice after that. And now I kind of felt like it's been killed. Like I'm so excited for the game, but I don't feel the hype anymore.
Right.
Like I even feel like it could be delayed again. And I'm like, now I've been looking at December 10th as, oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna book off time off work. It's just like I'm just excited to play it when it comes out. But with that being said, new music. I know that ASAP Rocky is doing a track, at least one track, or is participating in making music for Cyberpunk, which is a rapper that I listen to, and he's a funny guy. Like he's got some interesting style. So I'm excited to have maybe a snippet of his stuff in there on that Wire video. So that'd be nice. But other than that, I'm just hoping it's more good music that can maybe start getting me excited to play the game, or to get my hopes up for another delay.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't get delayed again, but yeah, I already had the day booked off for a few other things, so it'll be a fun one regardless if it gets delayed or comes out. So recently, Ziggy, I can't remember, was it GameSpot or what? You sent me a video, an interview with Phil Spencer, and I'm trying to remember I didn't write it down here. So I'm not gonna guess on what interview it was, but basically Ziggy sent me this link and he's like, hey, you got to check this out. It's a longer video, but you should check it out. And then he just puts in there, it's got some Elden Ring and stuff on there in there, and I'm like, oh, I gotta watch everything. So I put it on that day, and of course I'm right away, I'm just like so just ready for more information on that game. And really the only takeaway from it that was worth mentioning was that Phil Spencer has played the game, and I thought that is cool. I actually thought that was a lot cooler than I think some people would think. Just, you know,
that was surprising to me.
The fact that he played it made me go, so it's playable,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Which is
further along than I thought.
You wouldn't let the head of a console company, play this game unless it was more than just a tech demo, in my opinion. Like if you're like, okay, this is closer to the vision we have for how it'll look when it's done. What were you saying,
What?
Jess?
So I was going to mention. Remember when Cyberpunk was playable? That was a while ago, actually. Back when they had the whole E3 little demo.
Mm-hmm.
Still, like, it's still close-ish, but that was still a chunk a while ago, and the game's still not out. And that was definitely playable. That was still, people said, I played Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
it could
think
be there too.
I think the difference is that because Cyberpunk is such like it's just such a massive like expansive game versus like the scope is just so different. So I think the like from the point where Cyberpunk is playable from start to finish, I think the gap between that and release is going to be bigger than for something like Elden Ring because there's so much like polishing and detailing and like so much insane amount of like Q&A for a game like Cyberpunk
Or
where,
complexity.
as yeah, versus like a Souls game, which is more linear and more focused, I suppose. Or not as like physically huge, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're able to play a demo of that, I think it would say that it's closer to release than something like Cyberpunk. But yeah, at the same time, it is probably still a little ways off, judging by the fact that we've only really seen like one teaser trailer.
Back in
Yeah.
2019.
Damn.
29. Um, but I don't think the game is in trouble. Like I've heard some
No,
people
no.
saying that because the window from announcement to release is usually much shorter for FromSoft games. People have been saying that, but I don't think that's the case. Like the fact that Phil has like played it, I think says something good about it. Hopefully, yeah, we'll see more that. So either just something to say, hey, this is alive, like we're still doing it, which
Yeah.
I don't even think they need to. It hasn't been that long yet, but
I
yeah.
think my theory here is well, last year in June at E3 they did the trailer. They did it at the Xbox event, right? So they obviously
Mhm.
have like at least advertising partnership with Xbox, or it seems like that at least, right? And so then for Phil Spencer to say he's played the game, I would assume that they are going to have either an announcement with Xbox related stuff at the Game Awards, and he was playing it recently just to see, the condition it's in and see what it's like and all that stuff, or they're just
Mhm.
going to. I'm hoping that it means more likely that we're going to see something at the Game Awards. And that there will be a little Xbox logo pop up at the beginning before the trailer starts, or it'll be something Xbox related. I don't think it'll be like anything crazy like, oh, we're exclusive to Xbox or anything like that. I just think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
purely just an a partnership for advertising the game. But I do think that the fact that they had him play it would have something to do with a partnership there, right? And I'm hoping that that means more likely I'm going to get something at the Game Awards because I'm just going to keep guessing every next event that it's going to be shown.
True.
I'm going to lose it. I was
Just gonna
saying
cry.
when Zig, yeah, I'm gonna cry. It's gonna be like the Zelda Breath of the Wild trailer all over again.
You gotta live stream that, man.
I am. That's what we're doing. Ziggy and I are gonna be live
Just
streaming that
breaks into
together.
tears.
Yeah. Just gonna fall apart. It'll be so wonderful. I just really hope that they're really innovating the combat because they did such a good job with Sekiro. That's the best combat of all the Souls games. Even though I enjoy playing them all, that combat is just so perfect. Like that is the perfect
so
example
tight, yeah.
of learning and getting better and just a mixture of rhythm, right? It feels so good.
Wait, but Sekiro didn't have any shields.
Well, your sword
So
is
are you
basically a shield. You just have to block at the right time.
right? I guess so. That's true.
Like you take no damage, absolutely nothing, just by pressing the button at the right time.
I mean, you didn't like the poise. I always liked having the poise stat.
No.
You get knocked back if you have a low poise. I love that.
I didn't like it on myself. I didn't like it on enemies. It was yeah, it was, I don't know. Sekiro I find for me is like the perfect combat. It's just the fact that you can hit them enough times, lessen their health, then their stamina is going to start going up, or their stagger meter is going to be like going up as you're hitting them, and it's all that little dance of, okay, he's doing a dangerous attack. Is he going to stab? And then I need to step on his weapon and then like make his poise like shoot up quite a bit, because I guess it does have poise in that game in a way, but like you're really
Like
gonna
in a
the
meter
stance, I
way
think
though.
it's called.
yeah, it's like a stance. That's thanks, Zig. Yeah, it's you get their stance meter going up, and then once it's like maxed out, then you can take out a full bar of health, no matter how much health they have left. I think that's so cool because yeah, you can just whittle away at little bits here and there, or you can focus on different methods. But it's all about timing. It's all about pressing the right button at the right time and
it's so aggressive too.
learning the fights. Yeah, some enemies are so fast and they're just hitting quickly. Some of them like hold back their attack, and then some of them just mix it up. And I love that about all the Souls games, but I feel like Sekiro does a better job because you don't have to run away. You can just be there in the fight, and you can, if you're good enough, you can just deflect everything perfectly and take them out real quick. I find that so good. But what I wanted to ask you guys is there, so like this is a perfect example for you, Jesse. Jesse, is there a favorite Souls game for you? And is there anything from one of the previous games, whether it's Sekiro, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, whatever, that you would want to see in Elden Ring?
Yeah, my favorite Souls-like game would be probably Dark Souls 3. And it pains me to say that kind of, because like I want to say like maybe Dark Souls 1 because I had such a like nostalgic time with it. And I love the concept of Bloodborne. I think the art in that is like so cool, and I love the very like getting your health back after being like close melee. I love that, but doesn't make the game my favorite game. Dark Souls 3 was the one that actually attracted me enough to beat a Dark Souls game, like start to finish, and then I
Oh
beat
yeah,
the
that's right.
not the first DLC, I beat the second DLC. I didn't buy the first DLC for some reason. I don't remember what was going on financially then, but I played the second DLC and I just loved it so much. I remember going into the final boss
The Ringed
and I
City.
would just, yeah, and I just like loved that. And I had good memories, but just like was okay with practicing and practicing and practicing and then defeating these bosses. And after that, I went and beat Dark Souls 2 because that was kind of like one I wanted to beat for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But Dark Souls 3, that was a very well done game. Really happy with that one.
Yeah, it was.
What I would hope they bring to Elder Ring,
Mm-hmm.
I want them to stick to the variety. Um, I like that you can be some spear guy with no shield and run out there and butt naked and try to fight something. I think that's hilarious. I think
It
that's
is.
fun. And brings it back to arcadiness compared to like Sekiro, and it
Mm-hmm.
definitely brings some broken builds to the game. I get that, but for me with Dark Souls games, I want to have it where it's like, oh, I really want to be a crossbow guy. I'll do all this crossbow stuff and I'll throw on this heavy armor and I'll just be slow and shoot my crossbow. Or then I want to be just a typical knight, or I want to do this, or I want to do spells, I want to do dark magic. I
Right.
love that about Dark Souls games, not just the challenge. I love that like role playing, and I hope they keep that with Elden Ring.
Ziggy, what about you? Anything you'd want to
Um,
bring from Sekiro?
Yeah, my favorite Souls game is Sekiro because it's the only one I've played. But for me, like I said for a sec before, I like how aggressive it is. Where like you said, you're not really running away as much as you're like blocking, and I like how I like how you don't have to run away. You can stay in close range, and you can really like just keep. It's all about pressure more than just like chip damage.
Mm-hmm.
And that style of combat just works for me better. I mean, it more speaks to why I like games like Metal Gear Rising or DMC or something where it is just like that constant onslaught, like not really giving them an opportunity to fight back. I really like that feeling, and I think a lot of that comes into like what Jesse was saying, just about like allowing you to kind of do like to focus on whatever. So if I wanted to, I could have like a short sword build that allows me to like have that really fast like aggressive style, or someone can also have a really like bulky shield build where they can just tank a lot of damage and stuff like that. I think that'd be interesting. Just yeah, more variety, more choice to let you play the way you want, because I think there is a lot of ways to approach a game like that, and I like it when developers let you kind of take the approach that you want to take.
Yeah, I hope that they're really pushing the combat in this game. I think that a perfect mixture of Sekiro mixed with what Jesse was talking about and having variety would be very, very cool. I don't know what the answer is or how they would do it, but having a spell person, being able to somehow be right there in the thick of it and being able to deflect attacks. And again, I don't know how this would work, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that you could be a spell person, or you could be something, and you could be just aggressive in there, pressing buttons at the right time, or you could be sitting back or trying to dodge the attacks or whatever. Having more options would be more fun. I agree, Jess. But but I like having that ability to be right up there and not having to run away. I think that's important to keep myself.
And I guess like the one downside with making it really choice focused too is I think part of why the combat in Sekiro was so good is because it was like laser focused on one weapon. Like
Yeah, it
you
was
have a
tuned very
katana and
specifically.
you only have a katana. And so because of that, like they can make that combat just so tight. Like Sekiro's combat is just tight. Like that's the word I'd use for it. It's just like everything is so laser precise and fine tuned in the way it works. And I think that's largely because the combat's so focused on one specific style and one one style of gameplay. And I think when you like open it up to more stuff, it allows more freedom, but it also I think takes away from that like precision, I suppose, in design. But I don't think that's an inherently bad thing. I think it's just a trade off and is really like from game to game.
Yeah, totally. Well, do you guys have anything you guys want to add to the Sekiro and Elden Ring topic here?
I don't believe so.
I actually have a question then.
Okay.
For when we're talking about the Xbox being associated with Elden Ring, possibly, or what they're doing with that. When Bloodborne got announced, was that straight away addressed as it's a PlayStation exclusive, or was it Bloodborne and then a little more info came out? Then it was like, this is an exclusive to PlayStation.
I believe it was PlayStation right away. I'd have to look that one up, but
Right.
I'm almost certain. A good question.
Because I think that would be a mighty move of Phil Spencer to lock that in as an exclusive and just pull it right back. Just how PlayStation 4 has like, oh, we got Bloodborne. And it's like, oh, Xbox got Elden Ring. That'd be
Yeah.
huge. Because
Yeah.
like to me, I'd be like, whoa. I hope that's on PC.
And it would be if it was an Xbox exclusive, right? Like
yeah, it would.
And we're changing the name. It's now going to be called the Elden Red Rings of Death. Oh man.
All right, hear me out.
Yep.
So Phil Spencer's been saying, like, I mean, he said they're still looking on buying more studios, like they still have more money to spend in that regard.
Yep.
But he's saying specifically they're looking at they're like in talks with a few like Japanese studios, and he said some are kind of a little more high profile. What if Microsoft just buys out FromSoft and this becomes an exclusive?
I think they need to now. I think the fact that Sony's making with Bluepoint making Demon Souls remake, and now that they could potentially make a, like, I just think it's possible they could be making a not Demon Souls 2, a Bloodborne 2 with that same team now. Like they're gonna start having Souls games exclusive to PlayStation that people are gonna love, and I think that Xbox needs to compete in that area.
Yeah, I don't know if like. I think personally, I don't know how I'd feel if they bought them out completely. I was just thinking about like, thinking about that right now because I know they were talking about Japanese studios, but yeah, I don't know like if they did buy them right now. I don't know if Elden Ring would be just straight up exclusive to Xbox still. I think timed exclusive is actually pretty likely, even if they don't pick them up, where it's on Xbox for like a few months or something. But yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if FromSoft is the kind of studio that Xbox is looking at. I think it should be. I think Xbox needs more third-person action games, to be honest. Like a lot of their portfolio right now is really like Western RPG focused.
RPGs. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of Western RPGs and a lot of shooters, which are cool. Like that definitely has an audience, but I think Western RPGs are a little bit more niche. I mean, obviously not like your Skyrim or your Fallout, but like as far as like a Wasteland goes, or even like Obsidian games tend to fall a little bit more in the niche category. But I think something that is more just like a Japanese action game or just action games in general, like the sort of story focused third person action game they need more of. And I think From Software, while it is a bit more like a bit more of a specific type of that, like not as a little more niche, it is I think it's a step in the right direction for making them have a more diverse portfolio.
Yeah, I think that From Software makes gold when they take the time that they need, right? And I think that if Xbox did acquire them, that'd be nothing but good for them. They seem, at least it seems like from what people have said, it seems like they are very hands off on their approach with their acquired studios. So if they were to just say, hey, you're ours now, but keep doing what you're doing, I think that regardless of what happens with Elden Ring, I think it would be nothing but a good thing for them to have that studio on their team. Then you're still getting to play those games on PC, on Xbox, on your phone. I don't know why you'd want to play it on your phone, but you know what I mean. Just missing out on PlayStation, and then PlayStation wouldn't give a crap because they'll have their Demon Souls and their Bloodborne, right? So I think that'd be good. What about you, Jess? What do you think?
I agree with all that. I don't really have a preference with that, honestly. I think it's okay either way. I think it'd be a smart move if they went with buying from software. I think that'd be good. I'm not really for buying PlayStation in general. I will if I have to. But yeah,
if you're forced to with a gun to the head. Well, too bad. I have you with the blue border today, so you're the PlayStation fanboy.
Oh, great.
All right, well, let's wrap this up then. I just want to say thanks, Jesse, for joining us this week. That's really cool that you were able to jump on short notice, and it's kind of fun to have all three of us here talking about video games. You can, for all those watching and listening, you can find this podcast probably where you are watching it right now, but just to reiterate, at Spotify and on iTunes, also on my Nickelob YouTube channel. You can find me at Nickelob just about anywhere, on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, everything. Ziggy, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, you can find me on Ziggy Hixson anywhere. I'm like just finishing up a piece right now that I'm posting on my Instagram that I'm pretty excited about. My art Instagram specifically. It's one of the more like the longest to make pieces I've done, I guess. But I'm excited about it. I've learned a lot doing it. It's been fun. And
it's
then
the
after
near
this,
one, right?
Yeah. I've shown some stuff already, but like when it's fine, it's gonna look really good. Trust me, I'm excited about it. And then after this, we're all streaming Apex together, right? So
heck yeah.
You can watch that on twitch.tv Ziggy Hixson or twitch.tv/Nickelob, right?
Yep.
Or Nick, are you streaming it?
Yeah, I'm going to stream
Jesse,
after.
Sorry.
Oh, Jesse, go ahead.
No,
Jesse.
no, you can't find me. I'm not going to be streaming, but I will be sweating hard.
You will listen to his deep breaths as he sweats.
Yeah.
If you watch either Ziggy or me.
Leaking out of his pores.
Yep. All right. Well, great. Thanks for joining me this week, Jesse and Ziggy. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.